Root Beer for the PlayDate. Now, when it comes to the PlayDate, players expect a mix of bigger and smaller experiences. Root Beer is definitely on the smaller experience end of the scale. But don't for a second think that this means it's not a good experience. It's a cheap game after all, and for the money you'll spend on Root Beer, I'm sure most players will easily feel they've had enough repeat playtime out of this simple but addictive game. In the game, you take on the role of a barman, barmaid, bartender, bar person, whatever you want to call yourself, but the point is you don't actually play as the titular Root Beer himself. No, you are just the one pouring his drinks. The idea is that you will use the crank on the PlayDate to start to pour the pint, and then you have to time exactly when you need to turn back the crank the other direction to stop pouring it, in the quest to get the perfect pint. Of course, you just don't pour a pint, you will have a variety of different glasses, of different sizes, that have different fill levels that you need to pour up to. The game is surprisingly challenging, and it's not something you can ever just rest your laurels on, as you always have to be aware of your timing to attempt to pour this perfect pint. You'll see the line, and basically as it's filling up, which you'll want to do quite quickly, then you have to suddenly stop it once the head of the pint goes over the line, and then it will settle back down. If you've never poured a pint before, then this is a little bit of an education. The graphics are simple, but the artwork on Root Beer himself is great, as you succeed and fail, and he reacts to everything. Pour a perfect pint and he'll look like a smug version of Winnie the Pooh. Get close enough and he'll look different and tell you it's close enough with a little wink, but if you fail, by God, he looks like something out of a horror movie. Seeing the look on his face as he is nervous as you pour the drinks adds a real personality to the character for what otherwise could have been a bland and sterile game just about pouring pints. The soundtrack is also satisfying as you hear the drinks being filled up. Now, it reminds me of the always satisfying sound of filling up a cuppa. Yes, a nice cup of tea from the kettle. Now, it may be worth noting that I don't actually drink, so my main point of reference for the satisfying sound of filling up a cup with liquid just comes from tea. Now, the sound of failing when you hear Root Beer scream reminds me of the hilarious scream from Tom and Jerry, where Tom would just let out this big, "Ah!" I won't do it now, like, I'll play one of the ones from the game and you'll hear it. And then there's another one that looks like, or sounds like I should say, the famous Wilhelm scream. You have just 1 minute to pour as many perfect pints as possible, and will aim for the best score based on how many good or great or perfect pours you achieve. It's a shame though that there aren't more modes or options for gameplay variety in this game though. There could have been an endurance mode where you play until you mess up, so it could be that you keep playing until you overfill a pint and then it's game over, or it could be so that you have to pour a perfect pint every time. I think that a game like this would do really well to get an update which just adds some variety, or maybe even a sequel. Now, other options for customization of game types could have been that you fill up a certain size cup over and over, but I don't know, I'll let the people or person, I'm not sure, it's a PlayDate game, but the person who made Root Beer come up with their own sequel. There is a high score table that shows the top 3 high scores, and again that's a little bit of a shame that it doesn't show more of them, and it also shows you how many pints you've poured across the whole game as many times you've ever played it, and I think that's a nice little touch. I almost wish that there were a few other stats, like how many times you've completely messed up a pint, or how many times you've got perfect pints, or whatever. But this is Root Bear for the PlayDate. It's a good game, and it's one that, if you have a PlayDate, is worth getting. It's something that you can play pretty much just with the crank, and so it's a game that makes good use of the hardware. So that is going to wrap things up for this review of Root Bear for the PlayDate. If you haven't done so already, I'd appreciate if you would smash that subscribe button here on the Geek Battle Gaming YouTube channel. I recently did a big review of the PlayDate console and am starting to put out some reviews of the individual games. Leave me some comments if you want to see more PlayDate stuff on the channel, and I try to respond to all the comments I get. And do check out everything else we've got going on the channel. There's documentaries, there's series, there's hardware and game reviews, modern and retro stuff. And with all of these, if you go over to www.xstreamed.tv/gaming, you will of course find the written article version of my reviews and documentaries. So that is going to wrap things up on this video. So until next time, stay safe, always stay extremed, and ciao for now. Boom. And I'm off the air.